So I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I need to make a dummy. And so like I turned out one in 2 weeks. So that was like my first illustrated dummy. But and
Oh, dude.
yeah, it didn't go anywhere, but it gave me the confidence to feel like I could do it now as opposed to like 10 years down the line. And it still took a really long time, but it turned from like long-term someday goal to now I can actually do author illustrating now.
Welcome to You May Contribute a Verse. I'm Brenna Jennerette, Kidlit author of The Law of Birthdays, An Ella's Way Honorable Mention, and the upcoming nonfiction picture book, A Bike is Not Just a Bike, about how the bicycle ushered in the women's revolution, illustrated by Michelle Pieria, launching July 21st, 2026, and now available for pre-order. I'm also joined by my co-host Josh Munkin, dad, Kidlit author, and science communicator. This episode is proudly sponsored by Canadian children's book publisher Tealmore Press, where every book sold supports reforestation. Check out Tealmore's newest release, Sloths and Their Moths, written by Katie Lee Reinert and illustrated by Gabby Morris, a visually stunning nonfiction read about the world that lives in a sloth's fur. Check out this title and the full Tealmore catalog at tealmorepress.com, including titles like Naked, Fungi Are More Than Mushrooms, and today's guest is Steph Lau, author-illustrator of the newly released The Abominable Snow Dancer and the upcoming Medusa's Pet Rock. We talk all about process, world building, and what it really looks like behind the scenes as an author-illustrator. And we also talk about pancakes and consternation, like a lot. So make sure to tune in. Here's Steph's verse. Wow. Well, welcome, Steph. We're so happy to have you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, let's start at the beginning. Like, how did you get into Kidlit?
Okay, so that's sort of a long story.
Great, we've got time.
I grew up as like a library kid. My mom took me to the library a lot, and it was always a little artsy, but not a capital A artist.
Okay.
So I think I've basically taken like the most circuitous route to becoming a Kidlit author. I did a bunch of different careers and sort of was in denial for a long time. But I didn't really figure it out until my daughter was about 2. And so I would get bored of all the books we had. So I'd go to the library and read a bunch. And I was like, oh, how hard could it be to be a picture book author, right?
As it turns out.
Yeah, right? That's sad.
Right.
So it's a little bit of that, like just coming out of that first 2 years of fugue state parenting, just trying to survive and like you're not getting to sleep. And then there was that one election.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I should do something that makes the world better as opposed to my job, which doesn't. And so it was a little bit, a couple different things sort of triggering, finally coming to Kidlit, I guess.
We wear a politics on our sleeve here on this podcast, I think. So, yeah. What was it that you felt you wanted to do? Like, in what way did it activate you?
Yeah. Kidlit in general, I mean, I think there's a sort of silly sensibility that I like about it. It's a little technical because you have the page turns and trim size and these sort of like constraints around how you tell a story. But it's also creative. Like you get to make up characters and worlds, and I don't know. I just love the whole process of turning it into a book.
I was more asking about politics, but I like where you're taking the conversation. Yeah, we don't have to go there. So let's not get any further before we talk about your dachshunds on your shirt.
Yes.
Also,
yes,
you're a dachshund person. I trust.
I like dogs. I don't have a dog. I like having friends who have dogs, so I get to play with them and I don't have to pick up the poop.
Amazing.
That's but not having your own as well. A similar pleasure.
Exactly. Also, I mean, having small kids, any kids and an animal is like so hard. It's like just an extra added thing. So knowing people with animals and or kids is great. Yeah, then you can go about your business.
Before we go so let's stay on this for a second, because I mean, I was poking around at your website and I would suggest that other people do the same because your art is absolutely lovely. But the merch section has a bunch of goats, and at the very bottom, there's a long dachshund mug, which I find especially charming.
Thank you. Yeah, it's digestive dachshund.
Yeah, which is a coffee mug, which you just said you don't drink, but you can still serve the market, right? Okay, there you go.
You can put anything in a coffee mug. Josh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Pencils
that's
even.
true.
Anti-consternation.
Anti-consternation medication. There you go.
Yes, exactly. Any of the above. So okay, so Steph, so once you like got into Kidlit, like then like what did that look like? Like what did you do first? You know, like
Yeah.
so I feel like we have a lot of sort of people coming to the podcast that are like, oh my God, like what do I do? Right? Like I love this thing, but like where do I even start? It's pretty overwhelming. So
Yeah, yeah. So I actually had this like brief moment of clarity as I was graduating college that I was like, oh, I want to be a kidlit author. And then I told all the wrong people, and then I didn't end up like really writing, but I knew based on that I really had to get over the hump of completing a story. And I'm sort of a perfectionist, so it's like scary to start something that you don't know what you're doing. And, you know, it's like, oh, how do you edit? How do you finish the story? So, you know, I did all like the research, like looking at WI and then looking at 12 by 12 and things like that. But I made a goal for myself. I am going to finish and submit a story once a month. I'm just going to do it. Like I have to just get over the hump and like being worried about being bad at it. And so that's how I started. Just like writing really bad stories and sending them off. And I hope no agent remembers. Like, they're probably terrible. They're probably queries that were like, I saw that you really liked this thing in your MSWL, and then like sending them the complete opposite of what they asked for. But, you know, it got me there. I got over the hump. So that was the scary part.
yeah.
You set a goal for yourself of writing and querying a different story every month.
Yeah.
Not just writing like you would do, like writing and polishing something once a month like you would do in 12 by 12, but putting yourself out there pretty aggressively.
Yeah.
That's a different twist on like forcing yourself through that initial sort of workload.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, okay, so then my question becomes kind of twofold because, okay, so not only are you sort of like, you know, like everybody does, kind of teaching yourself Kidlit, right? Like you're just in there trying to get a story down. But then you're also taking on that other piece that I feel like we talk about it plenty, but I feel like it's not illuminated enough for people just getting into Kidlit. Like there's the whole writing creative process and that whole piece of it. But then you have to there's so much work when you want to query. There is so much work when you're like researching agents and are they a good fit? And then you've got to tweak the query letter and then you got to do comps and you got to write a bio and what goes in the bio. And just like, it's a whole other piece that is just like, it's like when you publish a book and you're like, yay. And then they're like, oh, but wait, there's marketing. And you're like, like what?
It just keeps going.
So I guess my question is like, what did those months look like for you? Like those first, you know, whatever, several months to a year, whatever, like how did you sort of balance learning both of those at the same time?
Yeah.
And do you have a day job at this point? And also,
yeah, right. Like how much time are you working with here? Because
yeah. So at this time that I started writing, my daughter was about 2. I was working a day job, and so yeah, I mean, there's a lot of resources out there for how you query and to just get the basics of the query letter. Like you have to have these 3 things. I think the lucky thing is I didn't know how bad I was when I started.
Ignorance is bliss. Totally.
No, they were really bad probably at the beginning, but it was just kind of getting over time. You have to start somewhere. You know, you got to do the bad query letter before you do the good query letter.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, I would just do both at the same time. You learn as you go.
Yeah. I suppose like you're saying too, like you don't, when you're first starting, yeah, you just got to do the thing and you don't really understand, like, you don't know what you don't know. So like, yeah, you know, like in retrospect, you were sending out, you know, bad queries, but while you were doing it, you were like, no, look, like I found the thing, this is what it said I need. So I'm putting these things in there and that feels good. So like, yeah. And then, you know, like everyone, your query letter and all of the stuff, the process evolves over time. So yeah.
How long did it take you before you felt like you were, well, I should say this. I'm going to stop my question and say, like, I still don't feel like I'm good at however many years into this I am, but how long did it take before it felt comfortable?
I don't know that I'm good at feeling comfortable in general.
Yeah.
Right.
I'd say probably about a year in the process, like I would start feeling there might be a chance that an agent might like something. Whereas before, like for that first year, I was just doing it to do it. Like I just had to exercise the muscle of querying and writing a story. not necessarily expecting any results. But about a year in, it's like, oh, maybe. And it might not have been ready then either, but I started to have hope, I guess.
Yeah,
What,
right.
what gave you that feeling? Like, were you getting feedback and things? Were you refining your craft and being more intentional and all that?
Yeah, I definitely had critique groups, and so that was helpful to get feedback. And, I could see that I was improving a story. It was getting to a certain point where, like, I could see the old version, which was terrible, and now this other version, which was much better. And maybe it's still not good enough, but I can see that it's improved. And so that was enough to feel like there's forward movement. And like, I'm at least on a trajectory towards something.
I was going to say with the query process. So also like sort of taking a step back, I guess, were you sending out just stories, like just text, or were you doing like full dummies and like art and text also? Because that is like a whole other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this side note, this is where I know that Bren and I are good co-hosts for each other, because we react to each other's facial expressions, which nobody gets to see when they listen to this. And then we both had the same exact questions, like where does the art plug into it?
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, so I mentioned like I was a little artsy to begin with, but I never really felt like I could take the mantle of artist, because like artists were cool people with cool dyed hair and like punk rock clothes or whatever. And like, I just couldn't see myself in that position. And so I started out writing only. And I had this sort of long-term goal of also illustrating at some point, but like, 10 years down the line. But I figured I'd work on it in the meantime. And so there was, back in the day when there were Twitter pitch contests, I guess they're not such a thing now. I decided to pitch a story, and I thought, I'll add an illustration because that will help with the algorithm. And it got a like from an editor. And
amazing.
That was great. But then I was like, oh no, I have represented that I'm an illustrator and they're expecting a dummy. And so I ran to my critique group, and then there were author and illustrators in there, and they've helped me a lot, like over the years, just learning, catching up. Like I didn't go to art school or anything like that, but I've learned a lot from them and classes over the years. So I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I need to make a dummy. And so like I turned out one in 2 weeks. So that was like my first illustrated dummy. But and it didn't.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, it didn't go anywhere, but it gave me the confidence to feel like I could do it now, as opposed to like 10 years down the line. And it still took a really long time, but it turned from like long-term someday goal to now I can actually do author illustrating now.
Do you have a shame or embarrassment blocker?
What do you mean?
In the sense that like there's a part of you that has to get over that. Yeah. The reason I'm asking that is when you set this goal for yourself early in the process of churning out content, but also querying that content or creating an illustration and just kind of putting it out there. I feel like for a lot of people, this is not a term except for what I just made up. The shame blocker would say like, I don't know, this isn't, we're not there yet, but it's admirable that you are willing to put it out there and try it.
Yeah.
Anyway. And it seems to get results, right?
Yeah. I don't think I have a shame block, because I did feel ashamed of it, but I just knew from my process, like I needed to do it. I needed to get over the hump. And then I think there's a thing where it's like, you should let other people say no to you, not say no to yourself. And so I try to remember that when I'm like feeling, oh, I'm not good enough at something, which I do feel like a lot. I have a lot of imposter syndrome, but I just know because I have that. And then I can recognize that, I'm starting out, I don't know everything. It's going to be bad for a bit until it's good. I just have to get over the hump. Just got to force myself to do it.
I really like that. It's sort of like the self-editing, or self-editor you try to turn off as you're like I reference fast drafting a lot because I love that for longer works, because it requires that you just write and you cannot go backwards to sort of self-edit as you're going, because if you do, you're never going to get anything out. So, because you're constantly essentially telling yourself no before anyone else can actually and be like, yes, or, or no. But like, yeah, you don't know until you know. So,
yeah. Yeah. It's because I know I have those tendencies. I have to actively work against it,
Yes, totally.
Yeah. I mean, that's a really good point. And I'm comparing my own experiences with things, art that I've created. And I mean, first point for the things that I write, I'm an incredibly slow and plodding writer because my filter is set to highest filtration. It's like the allergen and dust and mold and and smoke filters that you put in your furnace, which is not
And
an
shame.
analogy meant to
Shame
make.
also
And
is
shame.
in there.
Yeah, exactly.
The Merc 15 rating filter.
Man. Yeah, but like, I've thrown artwork up on my Instagram, and it always comes with the caveat of like, I'm never coming for an illustrator's job, and that's what I'm trying to pull out is like, why not? I guess is the right mindset. Like, I'm not a capital A artist. I'm a lowercase a artist, but there are lots of lowercase a artists who learn it and don't shoot themselves in the foot by sabotaging their own work.
Yeah.
Right. Like, why not you? What? Right. Like, why not? Also, I sort of want to just go back to the Twitter contest role in all of this, because so I've said for a long time, I love like a contest or a submission opportunity or a deadline of some kind. Like, my brain, and I'm not alone here, loves that sort of like that rush or like that dopamine hit and that deadline of like, oh, okay, like I should get this piece like ready to go because there is somebody on the other end who might actually be interested in seeing it, or like it might do something over here.
Yeah.
So my question is, with the Twitter pitch contest, you threw the illustration up there just like, oh yeah, this will help the algorithm, right? But then you got a like, and it was sort of like, oh, like I'm going to put this thing together. Do you think without the pitch contest, you would have, you would be working on full illustrations like now? Or do you think it would have been, this very slow, like future process?
Yeah. I think it probably would have taken longer. I would have kept going toward that goal. And so early on, there was this thing where it's like, well, I know publishing is going to take a long time. Do I put my skill points toward writing, or do I do an illustration? And if I try and do both, it's going to take longer potentially. And so do I just write? And so I think getting that like gave me a lot of confidence. And still for a few years, it was like, I'm an author who is trying to illustrate. And then eventually it was like, I'm an author illustrator, but like emphasis on the author. And then now I feel like I can say author illustrator. But yeah, I think it's just getting a little bit of like nice feedback throughout the process that sort of gives you the feel to keep going. And like, I can actually maybe do this other half of it. I did also apply for a mentorship 1 year where we're still kind of in that like, oh, do I want to write or do I illustrate? Do I try and get an agent who also likes my illustration or just go for writing only?
Oh, man. Yeah.
Like, it's just trying to weigh it. And so my mentor, I asked her and she was like, no, you should wait for an agent who likes both. And so that gave me a lot of like, okay, this is like the right path for me. I'm just going to continue going for it. And then it'll take how long it takes, but I want to do both.
Are there agents that don't want author illustrators? I mean, that's the conventional wisdom these days,
like,
right?
No.
You can be the
We hate unicorns and magic, and anyone who's good at both, get out.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely agents who would have liked my writing but weren't interested in the art. And then so you have to decide, like, your art's not good enough right now, but I like your writing, so you have to decide, like, is that good enough for me, or do I want to wait for the one agent who likes both? And so
I mean, that's an interesting point, though. Right? Like that would contrast with your goals of also illustrating. And you would need to make that decision not to settle, in essence, for an author only or an agent who was only interested in your text, because they would need to eventually also rep your illustration style as well. Yeah.
Which also, I mean, that's another layer to querying, because if you're going to query both art and text together, then yeah, that is another, like it sort of opens the pool for agents who are probably interested because they are interested in both. But as you're saying, if their interest is sort of split, then you're like, shoot.
Which half of me do you like?
Right. And it's like, oh boy.
Yeah. Take me as I am.
So you said nothing came of that editor like. But what became of that story? Did you flesh it out? Have you continued to query? Like, where is it?
Yeah, that was about a boy who is an ice cream cone.
Amazing.
And there's a dachshund in it. He had like a little buddy who's a hot dog dog. I'd like to come back to it someday.
Amazing.
I think I would redo the character design. It'd be like cuter and chubbier and then what I could do back in the day. But yeah, I still like the story idea. I just haven't had opportunity to come back to it yet.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Wants to be ice cream is a solid tagline.
I mean, that premise alone is like, editors listening, who's interested, call us.
Yeah.
How And then we'll get to your book in a minute here, but all this process stuff is fascinating. But how did you spend your points though? Right? Like time are you carving out
Yeah.
to dedicate to refining the writing and the illustration craft?
Yeah, I kind of split it, I guess. For the writing, I feel like I was ahead already relative to the art. Like I didn't have as much to catch up on just because, you write in your day job and, I'd find weird reasons to write on my own for non-story reasons. So yeah, I mean, I worked on both at the same time, and that always felt a little bit conflicty because you're like, oh, well, which one should I work on? But I think the thing that helped me, I actually realized that the better I got at art, the easier it was writing, because then I knew what I could cut. I knew what it might look like on the page and what the page turns might look like. And so it's not necessarily like a mutually exclusive thing. Like getting better at one makes you better at the other and vice versa.
Yeah, interesting. There was a question in the PB workshop recently from my critique partner, actually, Angel Tate, was wondering, just sort of like, or not wondering, it was more of sort of like a discussion point, but like, how do you world build in picture books? Like sort of what is your process? And Angel is an amazing author illustrator. So I think she was, curious about like how other people sort of go about it and what you, like how much are you going into your world building, like sort of beyond the page? Like, are you looking at your MC? Like, what do they read? What would they have on their walls? What do they like to wear? Like, do they have a weird like mannerism or like, all of these things that may or may not make it onto the page? And if it's a picture book, most likely not, but like things that help you get to a very like layered, complex, fleshed out character. So have you also found that sort of like, does that also, that piece of it, that world building sort of bleed into your writing in that way?
Yeah, so for me, I usually start with a character, and I guess artists have different things that they're more comfortable with, and so I'm much more comfortable with the characters than environment design.
Yeah.
What usually happens is there's like stuff floating in my brain in the back that I might be applying, but I don't realize I'm applying to the character or the story. But what'll usually happen is I'll like send the dummy to my agent. She'll be like, this spread looks a little empty. Like, what does this person's bedroom look like? And then I'm like trying to pull out these little bits from the back of my head. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I guess I'll draw the bedroom.
You're like, fine.
I'll draw some backgrounds.
Yeah.
But that brings up a good point. I feel, this being an audio podcast, we can't show what a dummy looks like, but what does a dummy look like for you? How done is done? I guess it sounds like that's a negotiation with your agent in terms of like the level of detail that you need.
Yeah, we argue about this a lot in with other author illustrators. Like, how polished does it have to be? If you're like John Clausen, it probably doesn't have to be very polished at all. Maybe you don't even need a dummy. But for me, where I am, like my dummies are fairly clean. I put value in it just to make it look a little more polished, and then there's like 2 finished spreads, maybe 3 if I'm feeling, a little.
What did you mean by that? You put value in it. Just you take time to get it right and make it look good and not sketchy.
Yeah, like grayscales. Like these are the dark areas of the composition. These are the light
value.
Areas.
Okay.
Yeah, like value study.
See, you're a pro. That's a illustration term that we had no idea about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, it's sort of like, because that part's not that hard to polish it up. I just don't want to get to a place where like, oh, somebody said no to it, and I don't know if it's because I didn't polish it enough. Mm-hmm. I'll hopefully get to a point where I don't need to worry about that. But for now, where I am, like, I just don't want to have regrets about it. So I polish it.
Yeah.
Okay. I got to look it back up. So, I don't think we've shouted out your agent's name, Ali Levick.
Yeah, Ali Levick.
If I'm saying it right. All right. Shout out to Ali. But she must be a solid partner with you on finding the right level of detail.
Yes.
What's the journey been like to get to that point with
to get to an agent? Or just an agent relationship?
Yeah, let's back
both.
up, I guess, and tell the whole story. Yeah. How you got to her, and then what it's like working with her and her refining your process.
So I was querying for about 3 years before I signed with her. And that was a cold query. It was like, we signed right at the beginning of the pandemic. So it was like one of the only good news things. It was like very early pandemic. I was like at home and just like, my family was there, and it was just, I was starting to freak out. I was like running around the house, like, And they didn't know what I was like reacting to because I hadn't shown them the email, but that was a very exciting day. But yeah, so then let's see, once I signed with her, we started doing edits on our first sub package, right?
And yeah, did you submit a dummy
yes,
to her,
yeah.
like author illustrator? Okay,
yeah.
just sort of closing the loop there. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you started doing edits.
No, and she's pretty editorial, and so we probably went back and forth 2 or 3 times, maybe. I want to say it took like 3 or 4 months to get it ready for sub.
It's time for this week's book reviews from Josh. Josh's review for this week is for our friend Jyoti Rajan Gopal's Stonewall Honor book, Desert Queen, about which we talked a great deal in our conversation with her last year. Jyoti's sparse poetic beauty flows magically with the lush and vibrant illustrations by Svabhu, Kohli, which are their own masterclass in visual design and leading the eye naturally from one spread to the next. This book would be enough on its own, even without knowing the rich history behind Queen Harish and Jyoti's own journey to learn about this story. And my review for this week is The Cave Downwind of the Cafe by Mikey Please. Glumfoot and Renee's restaurant antics continue in this clever, disgusting, and hilarious follow-up. The book keeps you guessing. Is Renee what's for dinner? Is Glumfoot? I don't know. This one had me a booger broth. Grab it for your bookshelf immediately. And don't forget to get your own reviews and library requests in. It's the #1 way to help an author's sales. And now, back to our show. And then what happened to the story that you guys sent out initially? Did it? Oh no!
She's making a look of consternation.
Yeah.
I need some anti-consternation, anti-rejection.
Here, take one of these. Little, yellow, different.
Yeah, I would still like to get that story published. We did get close with one editor. She actually liked it so much she tried to buy it multiple times at multiple houses, but
Interesting.
it didn't. It still hasn't sold.
Like she got moved around and every time tried to acquire it. Interesting.
Yeah. She's like, hey,
I find that
is that story still
fascinating? Right? Because
Yeah.
I had this conversation with my agent recently because I had something diet acquisitions, and she was equally just sort of like aghast as I was, because we're like, I don't get it. Like, what? She just was like, yeah, I don't know why, editors can't just buy what they really like, because I know marketing and all of the things, and there are all these other people involved, but like they are the ones sort of, I mean, for lack of a better term, like on the front lines of like, what is being submitted, what is being sold, what, the market is doing and fluctuating, and like, what they think is going to do well. Like that is their job. And so for you to have an editor so interested that she tried to buy it several times is just like, what is happening on that other end of that table? Like what are they saying? What is market, like what is their issue? Because it seems consistent, right, through all of these houses. So like, what is it? Like, tell me, give me something, did they give you anything? Did they give you any feedback?
I think a lot of it was just like they weren't sure how. It was kind of a weird project, and I hope it's the sort of thing where if I have success later with other published projects, maybe we can bring it back, because now you're like unknown quantity and we are willing to take the risk on you, but maybe
right. Okay,
that's a good point.
Right?
Okay, well that's okay. So that's at least some sort of like insight, I guess, because I hate when they're just like, oh, like, sorry, like marketing didn't like it. And you're like, but why? Like, what? Tell me, like, what is the thing?
Your mom say I can't come over and play?
Exactly. And you're just like, give me something. Anyways, sorry. I find that fascinating. Like, same editor. Yeah. Different houses.
It's anyway. Like you're trying to get that, like, if it's too different, they don't want it. If it's not different enough, they don't want it. You're trying to get like somewhere that's just different enough.
Totally.
And there's definitely a thing where like they're more willing to take risks on certain types of people. Like if you're
for sure
very well known, like you can probably
if your team alone is going to sell books, totally, they're going to be like, sure. Yeah, whatever you want. Let's get weird. But like,
yeah. So I'd like to get to that point where they're like, they take all my weird projects.
Yes. Totally.
You thought a boy ice cream cone was weird. Just wait until you see the back catalog.
I guess so.
So how long did it take for you guys to get? Now we're going to transition into your book. How long did it take for you to get to that place?
Well, so after that first project, I had sub. Like, we sub, like, about once a year. It's just because it takes a long time to prep the author illustrator dummy package.
Interesting. Wait. Can we just... Okay, so you sub once a year. Yeah. Is that one project once a year? Or is it, like, a couple, just one project once a year?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. But it is author illustrator. So getting a dummy polished into a good place. And then how many, just because it's on my mind now, how many like rounds do you generally
Hmm.
do? And like what is considered like dead, for lack of a
Yeah.
better term, or like, or shelve it, wait for later, not yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the ones that have been shelled, it was probably like 2 or 3 rounds. And so it sort of like overlaps. Like you have a new project, and then if that one doesn't sell on first round, you go to second round. But maybe your new project like starts to come in at some point, and there might be some overlap. But because a lot of the same editors might be on that list, like you can't put them too close together.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I totally derailed you. That's fascinating. Okay. So
Yeah.
so like once a year. And then, so back to Josh's question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. So
How did
after
you-
that project, we shelved it. I had a second project, which was a middle grade graphic novel, and that also got very close, but didn't make it to the final, like, executive hurdle, whatever.
What did that?
Boo! Boo!
Yeah.
I know.
God.
What did that dummy package look like? Because that's
Oh, for the graphic novel?
that's an investment of your time,
Yeah,
right?
right.
It's
That's
so
not
much
just
work.
like a couple
It's
of
so much
spreads.
work.
That's going to be, yeah.
Yeah,
How
we
long did it take to
had
get ready?
a long time. We had probably like 50 sample pages, of which 10 were final art, like fully colored. We had a full synopsis, and then like the character art and stuff like that. Yeah, it's a lot of work, especially if you don't sell it, but it's good practice.
I know. I've been telling myself that on so many things. I'm like, okay. That'll come back somewhere, sometime. It'll be good.
Did you have a conversation like what was this project like? And did you have a conversation with Allie about the investment of time
Hmm.
that it was going to be? Was it something that you believed in so heavily that it was worth it to you, or was it a market conversation?
Yeah, so it's a semi-autobiographical graphic novel, and so at a certain level, I think I just needed to do it as sort of like self-therapy to your traumatic past.
Yes.
And so I think, regardless of whether we had actually submitted it or not, like I think it was beneficial for me to work through it anyway. It's like a compulsion to tell the story, right? So we didn't necessarily start out with like, yeah, you need 50 pages. We said, yeah, you need a synopsis. And then like, depending on how the package feels, like we'll see how much content we need. And then at about 50 pages, it felt right, I guess. So you kind of like, you make sample pages at the beginning of the book and then a little bit at the conflict climax part. And then, so you're trying to showcase like, this is what this tone might look like. These are the colors of this environment. So you're just trying to show what the finished package might look like. And then you have to have enough to show that, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a longer, I don't think we've ever talked about the process of doing like a longer, like author illustrated work. So this is not, when you say 50 pages and then like 10, like final, they're not necessarily like 1 through 50, like page number. It's like the first, like the opening spreads, the opening scenes, and then you're saying some from the middle, some from the end.
Yeah.
That's really interesting because from an author's perspective or package, whatever, that, generally when you submit 50 pages, they're like, oh yeah, give me the first 50. It's not like, give me the chapter from the middle that you really like, and then like the ending or whatever, because, that's in the synopsis. They don't need to sort of like see that, like that is the whole thing. So that's really interesting, because that for you then is like how did you, I'm assuming you'd have to map out then at least like, black and whites to get to, this is my middle spread, this is what this looks like. And then again, from there to the end to be like, these are what these pages look like. Because you're not just going to like scroll through your brain and be like, oh yeah, I'll just like do this scene. I mean, right? Is that right?
Well,
like you do have to do the whole dummy?
I didn't do the whole dummy, but it's sort of like, oh, okay, this chapter might be a good one to start on, and then I might have to repage it later if it ever gets sold, but it's like just a starting point. Like, we're going to just assume the chapter starts on the left side, and then this is where we're going to start that part of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We laughed it off, but do you feel like that was a good experience?
Is it ever a good experience to like work on something and get it rejected? I
Well,
don't
and then
know.
also to hear that it was autobiographical as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we can laugh about how it was something you were going to do anyway, and it's all good experience. But
Yeah.
what I'm trying to pull out is you must have learned a ton through having to
Mhm.
work through that process.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I am working on another middle grade graphic novel, so clearly it wasn't traumatic enough that I would like, never want to touch it again.
Right.
This new one is about your experiences with writing the dummy and creating the dummy for the first one,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's a
That's
meta
what this book is about.
autobiographical
Amazing.
trauma.
yeah. No, so it was good experience, though. I mean, maybe, you know, we hear about stories all the time about zombie manuscripts that come back later. So, you know, maybe there's another form that that project's going to take. Maybe I'll convert it to straight memoir now that I've like worked out the, you know, project at a distance through some other character who's not named me. Maybe now I can do
Yeah.
it as a straight memoir or whatever. But it did set me up better to work on this other graphic novel that I'm working on now. And so maybe if I hadn't done it, maybe this project would be harder.
You don't have to
Yeah.
do all that fresh learning anymore, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's-
Now I know I can do a synopsis. It's like it's harder to like keep in your head than a picture book.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a different part of your brain, I guess.
Yeah. It's also, it makes me think of that metaphor about like the first pancake always gets sort of like tossed out because you
Yeah.
don't really know what you're doing, but you have to do one to figure out like how hot do I need the pan? When do I flip it? Like what do I look for? How many bubbles do I need? Like that kind of thing. And generally it's like, oh shoot, you always flip it like too early. That's just what happens. And then you've got it and you're like, I could do this again.
I'm assuming then that Abominable Snow Dancer, like based on the chronology of it and how long this stuff takes, that must have been what, like the third round with
Yeah,
Ellie, right?
it's the third
Yeah.
pancake.
The most delicious one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that journey was interesting. It was like I started getting really stressed out by then because I think when you're getting rejections after being agented, it feels so final. It's like that. It feels like the story's dead forever, and so there's just like an added angst around getting the rejection versus when you get them when you're querying an agent.
It also
It's like if it doesn't go through your
feels-
editor, like what else can you do with it?
There's like no
Yeah.
more editors. You have 30 editors, and if none of them like it, you're boned. But like.
And that,
Yeah. Or if they like it and then they're like marketing people or executive people don't like it, you're also boned.
it's that imposter syndrome too, because it's like, but guys, don't you know? Like I did the work. I have an agent. Like this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
good. Like it
Shouldn't it be
it
easy
got
by now?
all these
Here.
other barriers. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
you're just like, wait, if you don't like it, then like, did I choose wrong? Like maybe my agent
Mhm.
doesn't know what they're talking about, which is like, that's a whole spiral of my own accord probably. But like my imposter syndrome is just like, it just like flips it so easily where it's like, oh, actually like your stories aren't good, I guess, because like, it's not making it through this next level of like hurdles. And you're just like, yeah, anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. Or even
This-
if it's like, then you know your stories are good enough because you have an agent and the agent's reputable. They're selling other people's stories. So is it something fundamentally wrong with you now? Right?
Totally.
Like there's something I
Totally.
can't change about myself and I need to like get a new personality or write different types of stories or something.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. Like, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, all that sort of stuff goes through your head. Your third year where you don't sell. So, but yeah, so that story got a lot of early interest, but then it didn't. Those didn't pan out. And so at this point in the stage, it's like, oh, it's going to acquisitions. Great. Like, I know it's not
Yeah.
necessarily gonna like.
Right.
Yeah, like I don't
You're
feel
cheated.
excited about like hearing that these days because now I know better.
Right. You're like, great. Call me when it actually goes through. Cause like,
I know when there's an
can't,
offer.
yeah. You're like, I can't afford to like ride this roller coaster anymore. You're so jaded.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the editor who wanted to buy my first book actually was interested too, but she had about personal reasons. And that was like super sad. Like, oh, like there's so few
Dude.
agents who probably really get you. And like now you're out of the picture too.
I would like to imagine she
Yeah.
had a conflict of interest because she's married to a Yeti or something. I can't.
I'm
I'm
too
just
personally
the subject
invested in
matter.
this.
Amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, then nothing happened for a bit. We were in second rounds and I think we finally sold around like almost a year after being on sub. And so yeah, it took a while. It was very
Yeah,
like,
but it landed with Penguin. Yeah. Penguin Workshop. I haven't been on sub with my stuff long enough to know if that's a different set of editors, but penguin's what you shoot for, like right out of the gate normally.
Yeah, so I'm very happy with where it landed. It worked out, but I guess it's just connecting with the right editor at the right time. And yeah, it's just luck.
Who knows?
It's just alchemy.
Yeah, oh my God. It's so much luck and magic.
It's letting it simmer, I guess. If Allie's the pan.
Yep.
The industry's the stove.
Baking soda and baking powder bubble before you put your pancake on.
Yeah, something, right? I don't know. Oh my God.
Side note, you're a pastry chef too, right?
Yeah. Before, in the back phase, I was a pastry chef.
This analogy about pancakes hits home for you.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, not that you've made pancakes, but
yeah.
It's an apt analogy, at least.
Well, okay, so but let's infuse this with a little bit of like celebratory energy for the book that actually it actually made it. I mean, that's amazing. So like it is a thing, and it's like in the world. Like, how did you how did that look? Like, you got the news and you were excited, and then walk us through that whole thing.
Yeah, so I had gotten really burnt out in the pandemic, like doing the homeschool parenting stuff and like working a job and trying to parent and like, trying to get food and making sure we don't die or I bring something home and kill my family or whatever.
Oops.
It was a time. But at some point I just got really burnt out and I decided to quit my job. I didn't have another job lined up, but I was just so burnt out.
What were you doing, Steph? What was your day
job?
Yeah,
I was a product manager in tech. I was working at a matchmaking company at the time.
Interesting.
And so I just was like, I need to take a few months off and just like get my head on straight. And like, that's a privilege. Not everybody can do it, but I had enough financial stability that I felt like it was a good decision for me. I hadn't gotten my book deal then. And I just felt really stuck because, after so many years on sub, it's like, I'm not progressing here. Yeah. I don't know if I'm progressing at my job either, because I'd gotten to the point where it's like, the next step, you have to manage people, and I didn't want to manage people. So I was like, what am I doing at my job either? And so, yeah, like I quit my job. I felt really good about it for the first week or two.
Amazing.
It's feeling pretty good. And then by week 4, I was like, oh my God, what have I done?
Right.
I had made dumb life decisions. Why did I do that? Why did I give up my job in this economy? Oh my God. So I was laying on the floor, just feeling really sorry for myself. I'm a bad person and I make bad decisions. But then my phone rings and I have a special ringtone for my agent, so I knew it was her.
Right. And you're like, dude, don't ask me how I am. I'm not good. I'm laying on the floor. Please, just hit me. What do we got?
Yeah. And then so when she told me, I was I'm so relieved, because it was not only you've been working so hard and so long for this thing that's finally happening, and you're in your heart, you knew it was a numbers game, right? But you don't really know that. You're it might never happen. But now it's finally happening. And so I felt a lot of just relief. But then it also validated my decision to quit my job.
Yeah.
It's okay, now I can feel I didn't make bad life decisions. This is...
You got that real lucrative financial stability from selling pictures.
Right.
Yeah. I miss my tech salary. I will say that.
We do it because we love it.
Yeah.
But that's interesting though, that it just happened that way, right? Mm-hmm. You left your job, you're burnt out. It's not as though you immediately pivoted to let's make Abominable Snow Dancer into the best thing that it can be, because it had already been out on sub. It was what it was at that point.
Yeah. So it was
break.
Those plates are already spinning. I guess if you get to that point where you're super burnt out and I'm never going to make it, it's, it's still in progress. Things are happening. It might just be around the corner,
Right. I actually saw a post from Alison Weiss, who is the old editor at Pixel and Ink, on Bluesky earlier today. And she said essentially the same thing, because someone was like, what is your best publishing advice? And she was like, really, that you don't know what is just around the corner. All of the work that you're doing, all of the seeds that you're planting, you just need to keep going. The only way you don't make it, guaranteed, is if you stop. Which is so hard when you're in the middle of it, when you're just in it and you're sure, whatever, I guess, but she's not wrong. It is apt advice. It's really hard to see it while you're doing the thing. But yeah.
Well, the funny thing is, I mean, it's likely that around the next corner is still disappointment and rejection,
Totally.
but there's a corner in your future.
There's a corner.
Just keep
Totally.
shooting corners.
Well, so what does your sort of reality look like now, Steph? Like, are you always sort of actively working on something? Like, are you working on something now, or are you sort of in the middle of like sub rounds, or do you have things coming? Like, tell us what to look for.
So Abominable Snow Dancer comes out in November 2025. And then I have a book theoretically for summer 26 called Medusa's Pet Rock. It's about, you know how Medusa like stones everybody, and it's so now we're taking her into a schoolroom situation, and she keeps accidentally zapping the class pets.
Amazing.
And so it's, it's got like some dark humor, obviously, but it's like a sweet and silly story about finding your people, ultimately.
I love that.
I'm excited. I'm really excited about it.
What a have twist. Oh my gosh.
A knack for taglines. Is that something that you do intentionally? Because there's a boy who's an ice cream cone. It's Medusa's Pet Rock. Like, you really boil it down. Quite effectively.
I mean, I work on the pitch, and then, when you're trying to figure out the name of the story, like, there's definitely thought that comes into that. I don't know. I guess I work on it until it sounds right.
Yeah. That sounds really fun. Did you, just from a sort of like process standpoint, or like a querying standpoint, did you guys sort of focus your editor submissions on editors who were into like retellings, or was it sort of just like, we're just gonna go with this, it's like a school-based story and like people and community and like all of that kind of thing? Or maybe both. I don't know.
I guess that's probably a better question for my agent, because I don't get too much into the agent magic like that. Sure. I just can't even wrap my head around it. But the stuff list usually looks like there's probably some agent or some editors who maybe were into my last sub but didn't quite get through. So there might be some people that are existing, but some people are new. And then my current editors would probably get like first crack at the story. Right.
Yeah, I was just curious because you do see, editors occasionally, or agents, I suppose, depending on, where you're at. But like, I love a retelling of, whatever. And that's immediately what I sort of thought of. But I mean, it sounds like it has so many layers and hooks that it's not, that wouldn't be something you'd need to focus. But I'm just curious. That's cool.
Do you feel like anything changed after you sold Abominable Snow Dancer? I love saying the name.
Off the floor, Josh. Big change. Right.
Anything changed about the editor receptivity or marketing or whatever? Because I mean, earlier we talked about risk tolerance with your weird stuff. The floodgates don't open after one book necessarily, but you now have an experience point, to use a video game term.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. I mean, I think a lot of editors too are still waiting for the book to come out. Like, you don't know what that sales record is going to look like until it actually arrives. Like, we're not even in the review season yet for that book. And so I don't know that it's necessarily that the first book sold would make it easier. I do think there's something about subbing to editors and getting a sense who might be into my stuff that might make the next rounds easier to target. And then hopefully if the book does really well, it'll make things easier and I can do my really weird stuff.
Right.
But check in with me in I don't know, in November. We'll see how it goes.
My hope is that I like this about his career, Robert Pattinson. Like, your first couple of books can be your Twilight, and then you can go on to make The Lighthouse or whatever other weird thing. But what do you think? What is your experience now in the lead up to the release? I mean, acknowledging that we're recording 5 months, I guess, before your book comes out. What are you doing?
I have a lot of stress dreams about launches. I'm at a launch party and it's going really well, but they think my name is somebody else's name, or nobody comes, or maybe everybody comes, and then it's stressful, or somebody comes from my past, you've wronged me. I cancel you. So it's a lot of stress.
Inigo Montoya shows up to avenge his father, and you're like, it wasn't me.
It wasn't me. Yeah.
Do we need to talk about skeletons in your closet before we publish this episode? Is that what we're...
No, I'm just an anxious person. I mean, I'm probably wrong, people. But no, I'm really excited, but I'm also nervous about it because it's just, I don't know, there's so much unknown about how it's going to be received. I do feel good in that, because I have these other books under contract, I know at least I have a couple shots at breaking out. But if the first one bombs, there's still another book coming out next year. And then theoretically, there's a book in 2027. So it's like, I have a few chances, and I'm hoping at least one of those books does really well so that I don't get kicked out of the industry.
Yeah, well, that's the funny thing. It's like you don't get kicked out of the industry. You just kind of go back to square one, and you just have to have somebody take a chance on you again. But is there any sense of safety, security, or support that you feel like you've gotten now that it's Penguin that's taking a bet on your book?
Yeah, it does feel good to have a larger publisher behind it. I think there's definitely some judgment, right? If you're like, some people won't take you seriously unless you're at a certain level of publisher, or like if you're traditionally published or self-publishing. And so I do feel good about where I'm at, but there's just so much unknown. Like I don't know how it's going to go. It's my first launch. I don't know. Yeah. And also because I didn't sell for so many years, it's like that could happen again. Like, even though I've sold a lot in a short period of time, like, I don't know what 6 years from now looks like. I hope it's selling pretty regularly, but
6 more books. Yeah.
Sell a book a year.
I know. Wouldn't that be nice? Like, spread it out so everyone knows my name. It's coming up, right?
Okay. So we're heading up to the hour. Is there anything from your work in tech and product management that you bring forward into the way that you're making a scrunchy face? How do you navigate Kidlit stuff?
Yeah, I'm mostly saving.
You got extensive documentation for your manuscripts, maybe? No.
Yeah. So the ways that it's sort of similar, like product management versus publishing, is like there's that like creative and technical aspect of like, you've got constraints on the engineering side, and you've got book constraints on the publishing side. And then you're working with, a group of experts to bring out this product. And I do think some of it is like thinking about, well, what's the market for this book? And like, what is it as a product? What is it trying to do? Whatever it's trying to do, you want it to do that as best as it can. And so there's a little bit of like product thinking, I guess, that does inform my Kidlit stuff. But yeah, it's very different though. Ultimately, it's like a different type of work. I definitely like Kidlit better.
Yeah.
It does as well, but
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but I like how you framed it, right? Like you're working with a team. You're really conceptualizing what will be the most positively received by your target audience, right?
Yeah,
totally. Well, we are up to the hour, so I just want to say thanks again for coming, Steph. And this has been it's been really, really interesting. Like, and thank you for being so generous with your answers too, because I know we sort of like zig and zag, but there was so much, so much to unpack, and like, it was just really interesting. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.